This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
The U.S. government is working to issue as early as this week a general license allowing companies to produce oil and gas in Venezuela, as Washington seeks to encourage expanded output in the OPEC nation since capturing its president, three sources close to the matter told Reuters. The move by the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control would authorize companies to explore and pump for crude oil and natural gas, the sources said. OFAC already authorized U.S. companies to sell, store and refine Venezuelan oil in a first general license issued last month, and on Tuesday also issued a separate license allowing for the sale of U.S. diluents needed to process Venezuelan crude grades into exportable oil.
Oil prices extended gains on Wednesday after the U.S. shot down an Iranian drone and armed Iranian boats approached a U.S.-flagged vessel in the Strait of Hormuz, rekindling fears of an escalation in tensions between Washington and Tehran. Brent crude futures were up 56 cents, or 0.8%, at $67.89 per barrel at 0400 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was up 63 cents, or 1.0%, at $63.84 per barrel. Both benchmarks rose nearly 2% on Tuesday, as investors monitored developments between the US and Iran.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Indonesia imported 2 cargoes of Russian oil in December and January, ship tracking data showed on Tuesday, rare purchases by the Southeast Asian country and a possible signal of Russian oil sellers seeking new markets in response to international pressure on other buyers. The imports, tracked by Capella and Vortexa, came as the prospect of declining demand from India, one of the main buyers of Russian crude, has depressed prices of the Western-sanctioned oil, sales of which are vital in helping fund the war in Ukraine. U.S. President Donald Trump announced on Monday that India had agreed to halt Russian oil purchases as part of a trade deal with the U.S., though the Kremlin has said it had heard no statements from India about halting purchases of Russian oil.
The U.S. Treasury Department on Tuesday issued a proposed rule governing how biofuel makers can access a $1 per gallon tax credit for low-carbon transportation fuels, including aviation fuel. The rule was welcomed by biofuel trade groups that said the plan could provide more certainty for producers of ethanol, biodiesel and other products seeking the credit. The program, dubbed 45Z, was created under former President Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act and was amended last year in President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Shanghai copper rose on Wednesday as investors reacted to China's plan to expand its strategic reserves. The most active copper contract on the Shanghai Futures Exchange surged 3.47% to close daytime trading at 105,160 yuan. $15,159.29, a metric ton. The benchmark 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange was down 0.1% at $13,464.50 a ton as of 0700 GMT, holding on to most of Tuesday's gain, which was its best daily percentage rise since April 2022.
Gold prices bounced back to near $5,100 on Wednesday on safe haven demand as renewed geopolitical tensions between the US and Iran added to the yellow metal's appeal a day after it posted its best day in over 17 years. Spot gold shot up 2.8% to $5,076.01 per ounce as of 0655 GMT, after surging 5.9% on Tuesday, its biggest daily gain since November 2008. Bullion scaled a record high of $5,594.82 last Thursday. The U.S. military on Tuesday shot down an Iranian drone that, aggressively, approached the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea, the U.S. military said.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
India will grant the United States some limited access to its market for agricultural products but maintain key protections, officials from the two countries said on Tuesday as the outlines of a tariff-reducing trade deal between U.S. President Donald Trump and Indian President Narendra Modi started to emerge. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer told CNBC that the deal would reduce India's tariffs on American industrial goods to zero from about 13.5% and eliminate duties on U.S. tree nuts, fruits, vegetables, wine and spirits. In exchange, the United States will reduce its tariffs on Indian goods to 18% from 50%. The agreement comes after months of tensions between Trump and Modi that began to ease in recent weeks, and follows a big trade agreement signed by Modi with the European Union last month.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.